One of the largest expenses for most people is an obvious one, but most people don't even realize this. And no, it's not your Starbucks coffee or your daily lunch money. In this video, we will discuss what that massive expense is and how we can cut down on that cost and save thousands of dollars per year. Have a look at this image. It shows the average expenses based on the different categories any typical household would have. Many of you watching this video will have all these expenses. And can you guess which expense from this list is the number one wealth killer? This wealth killer varies a lot from person to person, and that is transportation. Now, everyone knows that a car is a huge expense, and what makes it worse is that it's not even an asset that's ever going to bring in some cash for you. Except, of course, if your living is based on driving people around, such as being an Uber driver. Cars are a massive wealth killer because unfortunately, the society we live in today attributes your wealth based on what car you drive. I'm sure everyone knows about the TikTok phenomenon Daniel Mack, who goes around the streets of wealthy cities and randomly asks people who are driving a nice car what they do for a living. And almost all the time, the people being interviewed are the ones who do have a lot of money. Society in general feel that having a nice car means you are wealthy, and that's exactly for this reason that most people tend to buy cars that are way above their financial limit. And this is so that they can increase their social status at the expense of building their own wealth and their future. As you can see from this image, car prices have significantly increased over the past couple of years due to COVID, which created a shortage of new cars, which of course in turn increased the value of used cars. If you need a soft guideline, Rosenberg advises spending no more than 20% of your post-monthly income on your car payment. But keep in mind that that number can vary depending on many factors such as your city's cost of living and the amount of outstanding debt that you have, because you'll need to ensure that your debt is being paid for on a monthly basis. However, you should not treat 20% as a goal. For example, if you make $5,000 post-tax per month, you should not necessarily be searching for only cars with a monthly payment of $1,000. Instead, understanding that benchmark as a limit and look for the cheapest car that checks all your boxes. To help you gauge how much you can really afford on a car, you should follow the 50-30-20 rule, which basically means that you should only spend 50% of your after-tax dollars on your needs, which for example is your mortgage, your groceries, and your water and electricity bill. The 30% means spending it all on your wants, such as your holidays, your Netflix subscription, and any new fancy sneakers or clothes that you may want. And then the 20% should be strictly on savings and investments. With the said, the 30% of all your wants will include your car expenses. Now, if you take all your wants into consideration, you really should not be spending more than 20% of your after-tax dollars on your new car, and this is the absolute limit. Each person's amount will vary, as if you have high interest rate debts on your name, you should look to cut down on your car expenses from 20 to 15% and first focus on paying off your high interest rate debts. People always congratulate you when you get a new car. However, we are not too aware of the financial impact this has on you. Buying a new car with cash or financing is one thing. However, there are many other costs associated to buying a new car, such as your driving costs. AAA claims that in 2023, the average cost of owning and operating a new vehicle as an annual expense is over $12,000 or $1,015 per month. This is a sharp increase from 2022, where the average monthly expense was $894 per month. Let's have a look at an example of how much a brand new Toyota Corolla would cost you over 5 years. The standard price of purchasing the car will set you back $30,760, and this is without any additional extras such as a sunroof or leather seats, which you may want. However, the most important number in this image is the true cost to own, which is $37,155 over the 5 years. Now, if you calculate the difference between the two prices, the true cost to own is a whopping 21% more expensive than the total cash price. This is where most people make a mistake when buying a brand new car. They don't take into consideration the cost to run and maintain your car on a daily basis. And by not being cognizant of these expenses is the reason why so many people take a massive knock on their ability to grow their wealth. This leads to a chain reaction where you are unable to make the payments of your car and end up selling the car in 2 or 3 years after purchasing it. Let's dive a little bit more into the expenses of this car. You will notice that the biggest expense is depreciation costs. This is one of the reasons why I feel investing into a brand new car is not a great decision, especially when you are just starting out in life and you have a lot of financial commitments. You would have heard people mention that a brand new car will drop 10 to 15% of its value as soon as it leaves the dealership door. This is true for 99% of cars. If you feel you really need a car, then the wiser thing would be to buy a second-hand car which is already 3 years old and has about 50,000 kilometers or 30,000 miles on it. The reason for this is that cars tend to lose almost half their value by 3 to 5 years, which will mean that you are saving money and still buying a car that's in pretty good condition and won't cost too much in maintenance costs. On the other hand, if you are wealthy and you are easily able to afford a brand new car, then of course, by all means, get the car. Looking into the other costs of the car are taxes and fees, which you can't really do much about. There's no getting away from paying your taxes and fees besides buying a cheaper car, as the amount you pay on taxes and fees is directly correlated to the price of your car in most cases. Of course, you will get the exceptions where, for example, buying an electric vehicle will reduce the taxes. The financing cost refers to the interest you'd be paying back to the bank on purchasing the vehicle. One way to reduce this cost is to try pay for as much of the car with your own money as you can. This in turn will reduce your financing costs. Your fuel costs come up to just under $8,000 for 5 years and is a cost that can't really be reduced except for maybe trying to drive as economically as you possibly can and ensuring that you fill up your fuel tank whenever you know there's going to be an increase in gas price. The insurance cost for this car of 5 years is $4,692, and one way to reduce the cost on this is to ensure that every year you call your insurance firm to see if they could reduce your premiums. If your current insurance company does not lower it, try shop around different companies to see what other quotes you receive. If you do end up getting a lower premium from another company but want to stay at your current insurance company, try showing them the better deal you got elsewhere and maybe they will consider matching that quote. Repairs and maintenance can be a little difficult to reduce the costs unless you get your hands a little dirty. What I mean by that is that you could change the oil of your car yourself on a yearly basis. There are plenty of videos on YouTube which shows you how you can do this, and you could end up saving up to $150 per service visit, which in the long run could end up saving you a lot of money. Now to recap, number one, know that a car is the biggest wealth killer, so only consider getting a car if you really need it. Number two, know that the cost of owning a car will cost you much more money than just purchasing the car. Keep in mind the financing costs, the repairs and maintenance, and of course fuel expenses. And lastly, considering depreciation is the biggest expense and the easiest to overcome, buy a car that's between 3 to 5 years so that most of the depreciation costs will be gone, which will of course help you save some money in the future. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, then hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. I'll greatly appreciate it. Until the next video, cheers.